Hey guys, it's Brendan the Paleo Dude, and welcome back to another Jurassic World video. Today we'll be taking a look at some figures that I found at thrift stores on sale and at used toy stores. Most of these are from the original lineup. Some of them are slightly newer, but I thought it was a nice, diverse mix of figures and would make for a cool video. Starting off with the Monolophosaurus. Oop. My phone just gave me a notification for low battery, so I don't know if it got that. The battle damage Monolophosaurus appeared in the 2018 Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom lineup, and it came out alongside a battle damage T-Rex with just painted on scars, but the Monolophosaurus was unique as it hasn't been seen before in the Jurassic toy line previously, like the 2015-16 toy line, or the original 1993 to 1997 lineups. So it was kind of like a fan favorite and destined to be in a toy line, as it was in a bunch of the original games, and I was really excited to see it come out in such a beautiful coloration. Like, the greens work well with the light underbelly and that kind of light patch on that nasal crest. And of course, back when Mattel really cared about the figure quality, they had the paint going all the way down the tail, which I thought was spectacular. This is definitely one of my favorite figures from the original lineup, and just in general, I love the mold. We actually have a new Monolophosaurus figure coming out this year, and it's a completely new mold, totally different style, but nothing beats this original one. The posability and the proportions, like the tail length, are just perfect. And speaking of paint all the way down the tail, the Dilophosaurus from the same lineup actually has this very subtle green striping down the tail, which is easy to miss, and definitely something Mattel wouldn't do nowadays, as they tend to go more bold colors and contrasting patterns. But this more subtle coloration just added more realism to the figure and made it feel more grounded. Definitely gave more of a Kenner vibe with that sort of paint job and coloration, which I loved. And this is a smaller figure, of course, and they give it some nice proportions and decent kind of features. The frill, the coloration is more of that of the Lockwood Manor statue, which I thought was very neat. Same with that little head crust. And for some reason, they actually reused this exact mold in the Dominion lineup. But yeah, this definitely is a pretty nostalgic figure to me. Just as it was more of a staple of the main line. I remember seeing it at Toys R Us for the first time alongside the Dimorphodon, and just finally like thinking, wow, we've got a nice like quality toy line similar to that of Kenner on the shelves at Toys R Us again. So I thought that was pretty cool to see this guy on there, because the Hasbro lineup definitely did not hold the same kind of awe and wonder as this one did. Definitely because it didn't have the Stegosaurus at all in that lineup. But of course, where Hasbro failed, Mattel came through, and this was our first ever Stegosaur mold for the lineup. And it still holds up today, as they love retooling it and remolding and repainting. But this coloration was just insane. For the time, it was perfect. It felt like a mix between the original Kenner and, of course, the style of the new Jurassic franchise. So it was definitely one of my favorites as well. I loved this figure back in 2018. And of course I still do. I'm trying to build up a herd of them. They're surprisingly easy to find on Facebook Marketplace and in thrift stores. I'm not sure how many I have now. I'll have to go check, but it's definitely worth picking up a lot now, especially if you can find it cheap, because the coloration and the pattern are perfect, a nice kind of bluey green, and they're great for building herds. But unfortunately, my love for it was surpassed for the Camp Cretaceous one with even more striking paint details, a nice forest green instead of a bluish green, and some brown muddy blotches along the side. Actually, two colors, in fact, a darker brown and a kind of lighter one, which absolutely make this figure look spectacular. It even has an updated texture on the side, more prominent scales than the kind of random assortment on the original figure. This one has more method to the madness. They're more solid, etched out scales. They're not so bumpy and random like gravel. It actually looks like reptile skin, and the head actually is larger than the original just to fit in more details. They gave it an open mouth, and the head posability is actually the same, if not worse, but they did give the tail all the way down to the tip paint, which is great. The original also does that well. It has a cool feature where you can kind of rotate the body side to side, and the tail will actually whip around even more than the original one did, because you'd have to press the button, where this one you can go side to side just by controlling the body movement, which I think is very fun. There's two buttons that you pull back, which are plates, and they control that booty wiggle, which is really neat. Love that play feature. So really awesome play feature, perfect coloration, reminds me of the Lost World. Very good stand-in for Lost World Stego, even though it's not the right mold. Like, the tail's drooping, and the skin and the sails and the plates, everything about it is not designed after the Lost World Stegosaurus, but the colorations fit decent enough. Even the stand-in for a Lost World Stegosaurus used in the recent Legacy Collection Sarah Harding set is a retool of this one, and it looks awful. It looks so bad. That is your best bet for a Lost World Stego stand-in. So another figure I was actually planning on picking up a duplicate of is the Fallen Kingdom Yangchuanosaurus, which is absolutely amazing. One of Mattel's best figures, in my opinion. And I was hoping it would go on sale, but then I just never, checked and missed my window of opportunity. But lo and behold, I found one at the thrift store, and man, oh man, are the coloration and the pattern and everything about this figure just so insanely beautiful to me. I love that kind of scale pattern similar to a Komodo dragon that they've got consistent along the whole body down to the tail. Got all these cool little nodes going down the body too, these big scales. And then they've got these kind of, what are they? Ridges, skin flaps, little spikes with skin in between, which seems to be used a lot in like amphibious animals in the lineup. And now this guy has two ridges of them going up the head, which actually form the crest, the dual crest on the front of the head. It kind of reminds me of a inverse Dilophosaurus, where instead the crests are rotated, they're flipped on the head, where they have the big part on the front and the small part on the back instead of small to big, like that. And the coloration is actually the same. Like, they decided to go with more of a Dilophosaurus color on this figure, which I think is nice because it has so many like subtle little nods to being Dilophosaurus-esque, with that dual crest being red, and also the coloration on the body, that kind of yellowy green, kind of light green, and the browns going down the back, the yellow eye. The figure just screams like, what if Dilophosaurus was on steroids? And I love it. It also has a lot of Tyrannosaur-esque features, but in its own unique way. The arms are nice and big and beefy. You can see it's got 3 claws, and the fingers are huge. They're not just some little tiny digits on the hand. These are just like buff fingers for grabbing, and they have them in a kind of grabbing position too, which I love. Now, a lot of the Jurassic dinosaurs have that broken wrist syndrome, like this guy here, where they're kind of facing down and curling back. And then a lot of the newer figures have the wrists pointed inwards, like this, like they're holding stuff, which I appreciate. I like that they're kind of having more accurate wrists, but this is like a healthy mix in between. It's got both the kind of facing down, but also facing in, and I don't know, it's just very menacing to me, the look that they give. And this figure does have a lot of really cool angles that I want to explore more in photography, that give it even more of a scare factor, like those eyes. Oh my goodness. I love the way it looks when the light hits the scales, and there's a lot of really cool menacing positions you can put it in. And the figure actually has the action figure of chomping when you press on his tail, which is very reminiscent of like old Imaginext figures, which I grew up with, and it's a really nice like callback to those. You can make him chomp on a human figure, a small dinosaur, make him drink, and even better is there's actually a feature where you can make him look up, and there's like a transition in between. You can still like thrash the body around, which you can control by the tail as well. So there's so many features that you can actually control just by the tail alone, which gives this a range of motion and makes it more lifelike. And also this is when they started mixing other colors of plastic into the plastic mold itself, so they're melted in, giving it even more kind of color detail as well. You can see there's a brown splotch in there that's not painted on. And of course the pattern on the back, beautiful. Love the pattern around the eyes too, really highlights them well. I love when they do that. If it was just yellow on green, it wouldn't look as nice. And of course the teeth are awesome. Love the way they look on the head. So yeah, one of the best figures. I'm so glad that I have a second one. I can bring him out everywhere now, and I won't have to worry about paint scuffage at all, because the OG one that I have will just sit on the shelf and he will be sacrificed to a life of adventure and scuffage for the sake of photography. So the next figure that I picked up from the thrift is Bumpy. Bumpy, of course, has this really cool action feature where the tail kind of whips around when you pull forward and back on this thing. Also the tail is colored, even the little spikes on the side are colored. Really decent figure. They went the extra mile and even put a little bit of the blue from the head on the legs and the body, which is really nice. And of course, they gave Bumpy a bigger head than the original Ankylosaurus, just like the stego in the back. The original Metriacanthosaurus, don't think his sound box isn't working. Classic. This guy has the toes kind of curved down, similar to the original Herrerasaurus figure, which I don't think I have on hand. The newer Herrerasaurus figure has straight claws on the feet, which a little bit of a sad letdown. I miss that curved claw kind of feel. And then the coloration, of course, is really nice. Very subtle, very earthy, but also just colorful enough to match the rest of the figures in that first lineup. And I don't have a duplicate of him, so he's my first duplicate. I'm kind of aiming to complete a second wave, a second collection of the original. So I think I have almost all of the original duplicates, except for like the T-Rex and maybe I don't have the Ankylosaurus. There's only a handful I need, but yeah, I'll do a video on that as well, because I want a second collection of the original that I can have again for photography, that I don't have to worry about scuffing, because, you know, they're secondhand, they already have like paint chipping and everything, whereas my original collection can continue enjoying life on the shelves. And finally, this guy, the epic damage Carnotaurus. So I got this guy for $10 at Target. What a steal. Again, this figure is just phenomenal, just like the Yangchuanosaurus. It has a button to control the mouth. It has a rotating tail that controls the head. And unfortunately, there's no button on the tail to control the mouth. You gotta press here. The tail actually houses that scan code, but it does have 2 damage features, which are interestingly placed on the side there. It seems like they are perfect for another dinosaur, probably another carnivore, to come and press both the buttons at once as like a bite. So you can see it's lined up for a bottom jaw to hit and a top jaw to hit. Like that. So it works pretty well. It probably works with the rest of the large or medium-sized theropods, but that seems to be why they're placed like that. And that's really nice. It's a nice attention to detail. This figure is one of the best Carnos we have out so far, besides Hammond collection, of course. The only downside is there's no paint on the tail, but the patterning and the paint on the body make up for it tenfold. Got full paint coloration on the bottom and beautiful design pattern on the sides, even on the head as well. So yeah, this is a really nice figure and definitely worth picking up. Even though Hammond collection figure exists, this one still is like a must for collectors. So there you have it, some of my recent thrift, secondhand, and toy store finds. And sale as well. He was the one guy on sale that I bought new. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was really fun to make. I definitely enjoyed it. And if you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do so. I've got a few more videos coming up this week. And yeah, be on the lookout for those. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see more videos like this. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.